mayhem here in the harbour for the last few minutes. Everyone leaping on their feet when Jenson Button came around here. All of the British fans on the boats jumped up, gave him a good wave. And if you would like to get in touch and leave your thoughts, your comments about Jenson's performance today, or anything else during the race that's caught your eye, then we'd love you to email us, f1@bbc.co.uk. Eddie, what's picked up for you? What do you want to talk about on the forum today?
Well, I'd like to talk about a couple of things, but I must say, just my heart, Giancarlo Fisichella just missing out on that point. I thought he drove particularly well, and as far as I'm concerned, he drove one of the races of his life this year, and so well done to him.
Yeah, I didn't see him all afternoon, but I guess you were watching. Are you still getting some sort of delayed payment
I'm used
from
to
the
looking
Jordan
at people
Grand Prix?
at the back.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was obviously firmly fixed on what was happening at the front there and watching Jenson. I didn't see him lock a wheel. You know, unless I missed something, he dominated this race, controlled it. I think Martin used the expression that he was playing with the opposition like a cat with a ball of wool, and you know, he just pushed when he needed to, and he wasn't even sweating. And I don't know if it was picked up on the monitors there, but he ran to the podium. That's how much energy and reserve he had left. So, you know, he's a man who does triathlons in his spare time. So, you know, he's the real deal, the complete package.
Okay, well, there you go. Whether it's Jenson's fitness or Giancarlo just missing out on a point, we want your thoughts today. Drop us an email and get in touch. But first, let's relive some of the best moments of the Monaco Grand Prix.
Away in Monaco, great start by Jenson Button and Barrichello as well. He's got the jump, it's Brawn, 1 and 2 into the first corner. Up goes Button, then Barrichello. There's Raikkonen, Vettel in 4th, Massa 5th. Great start by the two Brawns, that's not what Ferrari wanted at all.
Brilliant
Super
start.
softs it seems for the Brawns, softs for the Ferraris.
Perfect getaway by the two Brawns, and Raikkonen then under pressure. That Renault of Alonso has been around the outside, but he's still pointing in the right direction. Very neat and tidy and calm driving, unlike the kind of stupidity, really, you'd have to say, of the first couple of corners of Barcelona 2 weeks ago. That was almost pedestrian. Nobody took to the escape road up the inside. Jenson Button cannot relax, thinking he's got a rear gunner behind him in his teammate. He's got his main rival there now.
Ross Brawn was adamant last night, there are no team orders. The only thing I asked them is not to take each other off in the race. Here comes Masson, darting round, still can't find a way through. Oh, hello.
He's going to have to let him through and then try and slot back in without letting Rosberg through. That'll be difficult to do at that pace. Where's Rosberg? There he is. He's got to back side. He didn't pace that right at all. He should have lifted off earlier and then accelerated in tandem with the Red Bull. And Rosberg, opportunistic there. Well done.
That's Sebastian Vettel, and that's him gone.
Sainte Devote, he's whacked the barrier at Sainte Devote. He's lost it under braking on the way in, I would imagine. And, well, he's not had a very impressive weekend, and that's finished it off completely. And there he goes, he understeered into the apex, and then you get on the dirty stuff, and there's nothing you can do. That happens in a heartbeat. 3 retirements, Buemi wheelbarrowed Piquet off the racetrack into Sainte Devote, and then Vettel hitting the same barrier but all by himself. Lewis Hamilton, 16th only, is on a long, heavy strategy now. They've changed that one around. So it's, well, can't see 67 seconds adrift of Jenson Button. Here's Hamilton.
Kovalainen's in trouble.
It's at the swimming pool. He looks like he's dropped it on the way through the first part of the swimming pool into the barrier, similar to what Massa did in qualifying by the looks of it. Yeah, he went wide through the first part of the swimming pool, left off the bump, got the rear tyre on the dirty part of the racetrack, and wipes the nose off against the barrier. Presumably it then reverses into the tyre barrier as well. And that all started 200 metres before the accident.
Jenson Button coming through the last few corners. How sweet will this feel? He's only ever finished in the points just once before, second behind Jarno Trulli in 2004. But this is a checkered flag he was probably dreaming about. Jenson Button coming through now for Brawn Grand Prix. We're in the 6th race and it's his 5th victory, and that is champions form in anybody's book. Jenson Button wins in Monaco. He is number 1, and will he be there on November the 1st in Abu Dhabi as well. With Rubens Barrichello second for Brawn, it's another 1-2 for Ross Brawn and his team. Their third of the season. Kimi Räikkönen comes through in third, Massa fourth, Mark Webber fifth. Rosberg should be sixth and Alonso seventh.
You've done it, man! Great job! The one we all wanted. Well done. Awesome drive. Monaco, baby! Yeah! Great job. We'll have mixed 12 and pick up rubber, please. Fantastic work. And well done on the options as well. Great job.
There's a happy daddy, there's a happy driver, it's a happy race engineer, and if you're anywhere near the ship and castle in Monaco and Fontvieille, the drinks will be on John Button. That's his local, and that's where they'll be dancing tonight, undoubtedly. Another great weekend, another great race weekend for Jenson Button and the Brawn team.
Oh, fantastic. Just seeing that again sort of makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. But David, tell me one thing. You've just won in Monaco. Do you really bother picking up rubber on the way back to the pits?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the drivers need to make sure the minimum weight of the car is absolutely spot on. So, you know, you lose a lot of tread from the tyre during the race, and you know, this can cost you a kilogram or so in weight. So going offline with that sticky tyre and driving slowly, then you get this build-up of rubber, so you just bring the weight back up again.
It's good to know they're all professionals, isn't it, Susie Perry?
I'm just honoured that you've let a biker on the boat.
Well, we're delighted that you're here, but of course we had to fly all the way over here. It's quite a nice, easy trip for you, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I do spend a lot of time, about 10 minutes down the road, so like Jenson, this is local for me.
OK, so you decided to rock up and have a look at the four wheels rather than the two. What do you think?
Well, it was a fantastic day. This is such an amazing event. I mean, effectively, they close a country to run a race. You know, it's spectacular, and they've been building this for the last 8 weeks. And to see Jenson win here was extraordinary, and I'm so delighted for him, and also for Nick Fry, because they've had such a tough time, haven't they, over the last few years. I spent 2 years ago. I spent the Grand Prix with them with Honda, and everybody was so down in the mouth. So it was just really joyous to see them so victorious today.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic day, and we can see up on the hill there everybody is sort of starting to mill away. People have been camping out there for days. They're almost as mad as the biker fans, aren't they? Because the guys that like the bikes, they turn up and they make an awful lot of noise. What do you think of the sort of atmosphere in Monaco? Does anything compare to this in the biking world? Well,
the biking is just a lot more raw, really. This is a lot more corporate and slightly more sedate, a little bit more clinical. And when you walk into the paddock, it's sort of bank-like, only there's more money in the paddock here than there would be in a bank, and probably a bit more interest at the moment. But the bikes, it's very passionate and very loud, as you say, and the guys, you know, they're allowed to really do what they want, so you have all access, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a fair bit of passion though from Jenson Button today, and you had a huge smile on your face when you were hearing him. I suppose it brings back memories of when you were yelling down the radio after your victories here.
Yeah, indeed. You know, Jenson's taken so much passion into this season after several seasons of not getting the car he deserves. He is not lost on him how lucky he is to be in this situation, but he's worked hard. He stuck by the team during the winter. As Susie said, Honda had obviously the low of the low last year, and you know, he said, Monaco, yeah, baby. You know, he is delighted with that result, and I can't wait to catch up with him later on.
And for people who are watching this, who are hugely into their F1 and they don't know too much about the bikes, do you get a similar sort of system going on in MotoGP? Do you get riders who sort of struggle, then suddenly they get a fantastic bike and their fortunes change?
I think, well, David will back me up on this. I think the difference between bikes and cars is that bikes is a lot more rider-led. So I read a quote somewhere that David said it's 80% car, 20% driver. Is that what you said? Is that fair before I go on it?
Yeah, well, I just gave random numbers. I don't know exactly what the percentage is, but I said it was more the car than the driver, because of course you need the machinery underneath you.
Absolutely, but whereas with bikers, I think Valentino Rossi has proved time and time again that it's more the man than the machine, although of course you've got to have the right package around you as well. So in those respects, it is quite similar.
Absolutely. Well, this might be maybe your only F1 race of the year, but it's not your only motor race of the year. What's next for you?
Next weekend is Mugello. It's the big home Grand Prix for Valentino Rossi. He scored no points last week in Le Mans. It was a dreadful race for him, and Lorenzo took the lead in the standings. So he's going to be going home and he's going to be wanting to prove himself. So it's going to be an absolutely fantastic weekend, and it's all, of course, on BBC 12:30 next Sunday. And I can't wait.
We can't wait either. We will all be tuning in because it's a weekend off for us. So thank you very much for popping up. And I know that
nice to be here.
You can probably jump on a boat and 10 minutes later you're at home. Very showbiz, isn't it? Right, Susie, thank you very much. Right, now we did promise you we were going to show you this because we didn't get the chance to on BBC One. So let's hear from the guys who finished in the front, first, second and third. Here's the driver's press conference.
Jenson Button, and a triathlon fit Jenson Button, not even aware where he should park the car for the podium ceremony here at Monaco, and sprinting to the ceremony.
Yeah, I mean, the race was pretty tough, but that bit with the helmet on, you realise how long that pit straight is. But in a way, it was the perfect way to end the race. You know, I got off the line clean and had Rubens behind, and Rubens had problems with his rear tyres, and I was able to pull a gap, and it really didn't change much from there, except for traffic and the normal Monaco things, where the walls just seem to get closer and closer the further you get into the race. But yeah, an outstanding weekend. The team have been fabulous, and I think we've proven this weekend that our package has worked, and I think we're looking very strong for the next few races. So this victory is massive for us, I think, at this point of the season.
Well, Jensen, when the tyre covers came off on the grid, the Brauns were on the soft tyre at the start, unlike your other major competitors, and in some ways that's where you won the race, 9 seconds by the end of that first stint, and everybody else having trouble on that slightly softer tyre.
Well, yeah, I was surprised when the covers came off and most people are on prime tyres, the harder of the two. We never thought twice about it, really, running the option tyre. And to the end of the stint, I did start struggling with a bit of oversteer, not quite as bad as Rubens did, but I started struggling and my times weren't quite good enough, and that's why they called me in and stuck the prime tyres on. The prime tyres work really well around here, and we expected the softer two, as it normally does when we come here, but the prime tyre was the race tyre, so yeah.
You descriptively said as the walls got nearer, the shadows got longer too as the sun starts to fall. Those last 15, 20 laps of Monaco, when you know the only thing between you and victory is something that can go wrong. Just talk us through your mindset at that point.
Yeah, it's a very strange feeling because you start backing off a little bit, and in reality, as it's been said many times before, it is the worst thing to do, because you start thinking about, if I get this to the end, I'm going to win in Monaco. You know, and it's the worst thing to do. I started backing off, and yeah, so much was going through my mind. And it's not that you're not thinking about driving, but there's a part of your mind that's thinking about something else. So I had to really concentrate, and the last 2 laps were very enjoyable because I had a big enough gap. I knew nothing would go wrong with the car, and I could sort of just drive around at my steady pace and just enjoy the moment, because it's a very special moment winning here in Monaco.
An immaculate day for you. Congratulations, Jensen. Thanks. And Rubens, congratulations to you. A great start. That defined your race to some extent, and the 1-2 finish for the Braun Mercedes team. Started P3, but second into Sound of Vote, and then a great drive from you too. Problem with the seatbelt in stint 2?
Yeah, I once again, just like Barcelona, I had a great start. I was able to have a run on Kimi. And then I was running a tremendous pace. It was really, really good behind Jensen, but possibly just too close, because losing that little bit of aerodynamic, I was sliding a little bit more without the air in front, and I grained the rear tires. So from 16s, I was started to do 20s, and then Jensen was gaining like 3 to 4 seconds a lap. And that defined the race pretty much. I mean, if you start back, it defined the race yesterday, because it's a great momentum going when you start from the front. But I had a great weekend. The car was perfect the whole way through. It was a shame that we had the graining. On the second stint, my seatbelts started to get loose, and I could hear going clank, clank, and I was just getting loose. So I had to start driving differently. I had to send brakes to the front, because when you brake, you're just moving, and you get to the pedal and you lock rear wheels more. So I had a great time. Really, it wasn't as easy as it looks from the outside. So I'm proud of what we achieved today.
As well, you should be. Congratulations, Rubens, and to the team as well. And Kimi, congratulations to Scuderia Ferrari Marlborough, 3rd and 4th here. A great return to form and pace, beaten off the line by Rubens. Let's talk about that, and then your day thereafter.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the first time when I've been in second place and always lose one position at the start. It just seems to be very slippery on that side. Plus, they were on a softer tire, so definitely it helped on the start. So it was not the nice to see, because I mean we were faster than Rubens, but there's no way past him. So we lost a lot of time on beginning, and I mean that was the only chance to try to stay behind Jensen. And then I had a little bit longer second stint, but I don't know what happened in a pit stop, but we lost a lot of time. Rubens was still a long way ahead of me when I came out. So, I mean, we have still work to do to be where we want to be, to fight for the first place. But I mean, many small things changed this weekend, because I mean, yesterday being in the first place probably would have gave us a better chance. But I mean, we need to be happy after the very difficult start of the season. The people has been working very hard at the factory and in here at the circuit. So we improved the car pretty quickly once we realized that we can do something different in the rules. So we need to be pretty happy what we achieved today. Third and fourth is not bad. We should get some new package again for next race, and it should help. So, I mean, I'm disappointed definitely, but in the situation we need to be a bit happy. But I'm not happy with the third place. But for the team, it's still a good result.
Well, it's a great result, in fact, for the team. Martin's joined us now. No ice cream this week?
No, I've just finished my beer off over there. I don't think it was appropriate to drink a beer on screen.
I think you're probably right. OK, it was lovely out here on the boat. DC kept trying to convince us to present from inside the jacuzzi. We said no. What was it like in the commentary box for you today?
It's all looks like the inside of an egg box in the commentary box, actually. It struck me looking around. But, I mean, it wasn't the most gripping of Grand Prix ever, was it? I mean, as quite often happens here, and DC and I were just talking about it, I think with the slick tyres this year, it's saved a lot of drivers, a lot of trips to the wall, hasn't it?
Yeah, indeed, yeah. There was very few incidents. Rather bizarrely, you had Nakajima dropping it at the end of the Grand Prix there in the same corner that obviously Lewis paid the penalty in qualifying, and Mirabo was the sort of corner that it's very defined crest. If you end up on that high side, then it sucks you into the barrier. But I agree. I think the most bizarre incident of the race in terms of losing the car was Kovalainen's. It was a very unusual one. He sort of lost the rear and then looked like he released the brake and then braked again, and then off he went. So unusual to lose it in that way.
I'd say well done actually to the teams, because traditionally we would say years gone by, Jordan would come here, the first thing you think about would be the gearbox, the transmission. It takes such a pounding around here, and the teams have obviously cracked that. They've made big inroads into reliability, none better than the Braun team. So I think real good progress has been made in that respect to all the people there.
If you look at the times in qualifying, actually, Martin, and the way that the teams are performing in the race, it really has closed up a lot, hasn't it, the pack? And it isn't sort of separating out as the season goes on. As Braun move along, everyone seems to be moving behind them.
Yeah, I remember when we were up against, there were 39 cars in Formula 1. We had to pre-qualify on a Friday morning, didn't we? And then 26 would end up going through. But the numbers were there, but the quality wasn't. And these teams are really impressive now, without doubt. I agree with Eddie.
OK, now we talked about the start, David, yesterday, quite in detail, because everyone was thinking about Jensen Button versus the Kerrs Button. It really didn't go as we thought it would. Let's have a look at the start. Give us your thoughts.
Well, clearly we've got Raikkonen there. Just didn't get the traction initially. Now, Kerrs can only help him above 100 kilometres an hour. Up until 100k, it's down to him and it's down to the grip. And he said in the press conference there that he seemed to just lose a bit of traction coming off the line. So, you know, I know what that feeling's like. You can feel the wheels spinning. You desperately want to try and weave across to defend your position, but in doing so, all you'll do is make your wheels spin more. So that was a perfect start for Braun GP. Jensen, the time he was rising up to Casino Square, would be thinking, right, that one of the most difficult parts of the weekend is already done. Now I just need to make it stick the rest of the race.
I think for Braun, just after they got rid of the great big smile to see 1-2, they'd have been reworking their strategy, because it was just perfect for them, wasn't it? They had the race completely under control as long as the drivers didn't make a mistake, and nor did the team. It was absolutely spot on. And as ever, one of those interviews you had at that brilliant piece at the beginning of our Grand Prix show, where who was it? Graham Hill said it's all about the first 5 seconds, and there it was for the team, and it was absolutely perfect.
I think it was actually, sorry to interrupt, but I think it was James Hunt, but that is exactly the case. It is about the first 5 seconds, and I was surprised that Raikkonen got done on the start. I fully expected the Ferrari to lead in the first corner, and if not, certainly up the hill from Sandevot, because that's where the Kerrs comes in. Look, he gets absolutely pasted here. There's not a chance that he can come back at anything there.
It's the first time I've seen that footage, and he bogged down on the line a little bit. He didn't have enough revs on, did he? You could hear the engine wanted to slow down and stop rather than the rear tyres spinning, and very gingerly and cautiously there through Casino Square on the first lap.
Lots of text messages actually coming in about Ferrari. One of the questions is, what was the deal with the tyres on on Kimi's car. Why didn't he start on the super soft tyres?
Because Ross Brawn's left the team and he was brilliant at that sort of thing. I mean, it seemed like a no-brainer to get, gain 2 or 3 metres off the grid and get that phase out of the way. But of course the tyres dropped off quicker than anybody expected, didn't they, in the early part of the Grand Prix?
I'm just amazed looking at this in-car footage, how nervous he seems to be at judging where the front end is. As we join on board here with Lewis, he goes up the inside of the BMW there of Kubica, and then he'll just get the concertina effect. Look how slowly he drives through this corner, gets passed again by the VM, not wanting to take any risks, but runs up the hill in the same position, Martin.
Well, I'm surprised at that, because the whole idea of keeping him on 18 laps of fuel at the back was for him to banzai the first corner in the first lap, and that was anything but, wasn't it?
Martin, I talked about this before we went on for the race. For me, the strategy, I'm a bit critical here, but it was madness. There's not a chance anywhere else, maybe, but you can't start the race. He'd be better off starting from the pit lane. Avoid any accident was going to happen and be full of fuel. That was his only chance. For me, I think it was an exercise and maybe just let's get this race over with, as Lewis alluded to after that. But for me, it was just a poor decision.
I can see the headlines, EJ to McLaren, strategist.
I'm not ready for the breakfast there tomorrow, I don't think. Another team.
Well, we've mentioned that Ross Brawn has gone over to Brawn and their strategy is looking very good. How's the business side of things looking as well, I wonder? Well, we can get the thoughts of Nick Fry about today's race. Here are Nick thoughts.
Well, a big grin as always, Nick. What was it like on that podium?
Yeah, well, maybe the big grin's okay this time. Absolutely fantastic. The teams worked so hard, and this was very, very special. And everyone was really nervous about this because we wanted to win this one so much. And for it to come true, first and second place is, words fail me for a change.
Why did you want to win this one so much?
I think just Monaco is just iconic in Formula One. It's very, very special. Not just the history, the Jackie Stewart victories, the stuff that happened when you were a kid. To come here and to come first and second, and for Mercedes-Benz, very special as well. This is I think the first time in history that a single engine's won 3 Grand Prix. So fantastic reliability from them too.
Okay, so that engine in the back of Jensen's car has won the last 3 Grand Prix.
Yeah, it has, and I know that in Stuttgart they'll be celebrating that. First time in history that's happened, so congratulations to them.
Was there ever a point in the race where it looked like things weren't going your way?
I think on the grid when we unwrapped the tyres, because as you saw we were on the softer of the tyres, and I think there was possibly only one other car that did the same, so we had a bit of a gulp there as to whether we'd been a bit ambitious, and it worked out very well for Jensen, but Ruben struggled a little bit for a short period with graining of the rear tyres, which set him back a little bit, but once we got through that initial shock that maybe we'd overstepped the mark, it all went reasonably well.
Okay, one final question from me. I understand, Nick, that Jensen's very close to signing a new long-term deal with Brawn. He had a long-term deal with Honda. That obviously got torn up and a 1-year deal at the moment. But what can you say about that?
Well, Jensen's been with us for a long time, and we've kind of had failures and we've had successes. And, my objective and our objective is to have him to the rest of his career, and nothing's changed on that front. I think it's mutual, that he would like to stay with the team, and after performance, 5 race wins, I think that we should be able to get something together.
Is that sooner rather than later?
We'll see.
Or does his value go up once he's world champion?
I'm sure he'll be sitting there and his manager thinking that his price is going up the whole time, but maybe the sponsorship for the team's going up too, so maybe we can afford it.
Good stuff. Well done today.
Thanks. Cheers.
Well, it's a fair point, actually, about Jensen's worth. And Eddie, you've quite enjoyed sort of ribbing whoever's joined us, whether it be Ross Brawn or Richard Branson, about the money side of things at Brawn. And obviously they can only start to offer Jensen Button the security and the cash that he would like if they have got the finances in place. Do you think, maybe listening to that it is coming together now at Brawn so they can start to think about the long term?
Well, there's no evidence on the car. You just see 1 or 2 little sponsors on there, nothing dramatic, no major title sponsor, and I think they need to put that in place first. Hopefully we all see Richard around the place, and today might just concrete that little deal into place. But again, we just need to talk about it, because this team wouldn't be alive had it not been for the so-called generosity of Honda to make this happen. And yes, it's been fantastic for Brawn, but they've made this financial move possible for Braun to be here.
Tough times, I suppose, for Honda watching this, but for Mercedes, well, they'll be loving this. And if anything, McLaren will be thinking, right, at least we know the engines are as good as they're going to get. We just need to sort the car out. Mercedes, well done to them.
Yeah, it's a fairly unique situation in the way the Formula One has evolved recently, that you can have customer engines that are of the same spec as the race, the main works team. And of course that gives a team like Braun, when they come up with a good car, a real opportunity. And in the past, and certainly when Martin started in Formula One and my career, there was always a big difference between the works engine and a customer engine. So I'm sure that Norbert Haug and all the Mercedes team are taking a little bit of heart from the fact that, okay, they're not winning the races with their main team in McLaren, but they're saying, hey, look, we're providing a winning engine.
And when a driver's comfortable in the team, the best thing to do is for everybody to agree and everyone get together and think about the long term, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't think anybody needs to jump too quickly, certainly on Jensen's side, but why would he want to leave? But on that point, I mean, it's a very strong message from Formula One. We used to put a new engine in every day. Now they've won 3 Grand Prix with the same engine. That really impresses me, how far we've moved on in that respect.
So they talk about curves being green. If the engines are lasting longer and longer and longer, that's certainly a very green initiative. Let's mention Ferrari, because we've got an email that's come in here. It says, we heard Rob Smedley warn Felipe Massa a few times about cutting the chicane because the FIA had their eye on him. David from Lancashire wants to know basically why Massa wasn't penalised for jumping the chicane at the swimming pool complex. Is it sort of, you can do it a few times, if you do it too many, Martin, then you're in trouble?
Well, you always push the limits of the racetrack. Had he have overtaken somebody or saved being overtaken, or I think he would have. I mean, in this particular example we're watching here, he did well not to cream into the back of the Red Bull, frankly, and he's then done the right thing and released him back. That's not what they warned him about. It's later on in the race, later on in the lap. Here it is. Where he's carrying more speed than he would normally be able to do. So he's homing in on Raikkonen, and he's not using the racetrack. He's using bits and pieces that are not part of the racetrack. And the track's defined by the white line that goes around the outside of it, actually, not the curbs themselves. So there's already quite a bit of latitude there. If they say, look, you've got to have at least one tyre on the racetrack, that's a lot of latitude already, isn't it?
And you've been there, Reddy. How frustrating is it when you've got your drivers constantly doing things that you think is going to get them a penalty and you're shouting at them from the pit wall, stop doing it?
Well, the first thing you're shouting at them, push, push, push. You're going to catch him, keep it going. And, basically what you're trying to do is to be a doctor of psychology, trying to make him believe he can do this. That's the whole crisis of this. And obviously you saw that he had understeer. The front had gone from him, and he lost the car. He was lucky to catch this, actually. That could have been another accident for him, because he had hit the wall just previously there yesterday in the qualifying.
I never had Eddie down as a doctor of psychology. Look at that. Right, let's hear from Ferrari now. Felipe Massa and Stefano Domenicali.
Well, Stefano, some good points and a good podium. Tell us how the race went as far as you're concerned.
Well, I think for sure I'm very happy about the result, because that shows that what we are doing at home in this moment is good. We are working in the right direction. The Browns are for sure still quicker at the moment, but we are catching up and we are getting closer. So this is very positive. I'm very happy because in this moment the boys at home are working very, very hard. And I'm very happy, and I want to thank them for what they are doing, and we will push, and I'm sure that we'll have this is just a start.
I mean, it's interesting to see how it worked between Kimi and Felipe. Do you think Felipe might have actually got the podium place because he looked quicker, but what happened to him behind Button?
Yeah, I think for sure Felipe did a great race, but don't underevaluate the race of Kimi because it's important. So I think they did a great race. Felipe, I think the quickest lap. So that's important to look ahead with this perspective.
We heard Rob on the radio talking to Felipe saying, be careful not to put all your wheels inside that curb. Was that ever a danger, the FIA warning you about it?
Yeah, there was discussion about that. So consider that we saw doing that. We wanted to make sure that, no problem at all. So that was the reason why we told him.
It should be better in Turkey, Stefano?
I don't know. I mean, for sure, this is what we want to do. Keep working, keep pushing, and this is the nature of our team. We had a very bad start of the season, getting up. We will push, and in Turkey we will see, because for sure also the other we will work hard.
Thanks, Stefano.
You battled hard to the end. You just couldn't quite get past anyone in front of you, especially your teammate Kimi.
Yeah, I mean, on the track we know it's very difficult here to pass. I was quite on the direction to pass him on the strategy, but unfortunately, all the time when I was at the end of my stint, Jameson came out from the pits and he held me a lot. and I lost the possibility to put a good pace straight away and pass Kimi. So it was a bit of a shame because it could have been third today. But it was a great race for Ferrari because we show incredible pace.
Ferrari are back?
Back on fight. We still need to improve to be back on the victory.
Interesting, actually, because Andy has also emailed in to say, are Ferrari back? Well, Disa, you've got quite an interesting thought, actually, on Felipe Massa and the way he dealt with that little part of the circuit there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's so interesting, but just on the white line issue, it's something that's been discussed many, many times in the drivers' briefings. And the drivers actually say to the FIA, well, why do you not just define the white line in the same way you would in tennis or football? If you go out, you're out, and there has to be some form of penalty. Now, of course, the practicalities of how you would apply that penalty. In the case of what happened with Felipe when he almost ran into the back of the Red Bull, I think he'll be pretty disappointed in himself how he reacted in that situation. Quite clearly he had to give the place back, but to lose another place to Rosberg around somewhere like Monaco, you know, that was just a silly manoeuvre, really.
Okay, Richard has texted in. He says it was a difficult day today for Red Bull, Eddie. Was it essentially a mistake to try out their new double-deck diffuser at a track like Monaco? He also adds at the bottom here, BMW will introduce theirs in Turkey where it can be more effective on a fast track. Do you think that was the problem today for Red Bull?
Well, two questions there. Red Bull are not as desperado as BMW, I must say that from the beginning, and BMW probably needed any hope of moving up with the double diffuser. Red Bull, it's a good question to ask. In my view is that drivers usually dictate a lot of this. The engineers and drivers get together, it gets designed, and they're all bullish about it because the figures in the wind tunnel show the improvement. And you will not tell me these two guys on left and right of me don't want it on the car. They want it on yesterday, not today, yesterday. So if there's an improvement that's shown in the computer, they'll have it. So I have no problem. I'd say it would have been going on a Jordan car if it was there.
You have to remember there's no in-season testing any longer, so they've got to try parts out at the racetrack. And as Eddie says, that you get numbers from CFD, from the wind tunnel, and the feel-good factor, and you're always trying to push the boundaries, push the limits, and it didn't work out. It's an unusual racetrack, though. I mean, I think they have to wait at Red Bull to see if they go to Istanbul and Silverstone and it's not working, then they can be sad about it.
Yeah, you're the man that gives us the inside track. Come on, how confident were Red Bull about their new diffuser this weekend?
Yeah, they were confident. They've got every reason to be confident. The wind tunnel has given them the figures to produce the car that's been raced in the first 5 races, and that's the same wind tunnel that gave them the information for this diffuser. But it's such a big influence over the whole car that it's one thing taking it from the tunnel, which is 60% scale, and when you have it in real life, of course, it can react differently. As we join on board here with Mark Webber going down to Lowes Corner. You know, this is the slowest corner on the Grand Prix calendar, so not going to do a great deal for him there. But they weren't really complaining of a great deal of balance issues. It's more about heating the tyres and getting the best out of them in qualifying.
Why do you think they burned their rear tyres out quicker than anybody else?
Well, Martin, as you well know, that's the eternal question when you're with a racing team. You know, if you're hot and everything's going well, then you presume that you know why it's working. You know, you're just doing a better job than everyone else. When you're trying to play catch up, trying to understand what is it that's overloading that rear tyre. If you've got your weight distribution where it should be and you've got good control over the aero platform, then it's very difficult to actually put a handle on. But I think that the point you made during the commentary, the fact is it's just not generating as much load, and in that situation you slide more, and the winning car usually has better tyre wear because they've got more downforce.
The other aspect, just going back, David, is that to put the double diffuser in Monaco is probably the last place you actually want to put it on, because you've got curbs, you've got a natural road circuit and cars jumping all over the place, and it's just not the normal type of circuit that you would expect to get the downforce levels from a double diffuser. So it was highly risky, but nevertheless you are pressurised into doing it because you're always striving for that excellence.
Yeah, and the other thing that is part of that package is the carbon gearbox. Now, Mark Webber had the carbon gearbox at the Grand Prix before in Spain. It was introduced in Sebastian's car just for the cycle, and although, you know, in theory it should be the internals that do the real work, of course the structure of that is different. I think the other thing being on this track, on Thursday practice, as we have here, rather than the normal Friday practice, you don't have the time to go through the normal sort of ride height scans and all of the things you would do to verify, is the performance of that diffuser working as planned in the wind tunnel. So I think in Istanbul, 2 weeks' time on Friday, they'll be doing a proper test on that.
OK, well, we've ridden on board with him, so let's hear from Mark Webber.
5th place today. It looked a bit tough at some points, but then you had some speed at other points. I mean, was it as sporadic as that?
No, I think we were pretty competitive all the way through the race. There was a sweet spot in the middle of the second stint where I had a good run on the tyres. We lost a little bit of tyre at the end of that stint. And then we knew it was a case of seeing what the options would do at the end. And I tried to nurse them a little bit in the first 5-6 laps because I knew I had no challenge really from behind. It was about maybe putting something into the Ferraris at the end. If they really got in massive trouble with the tyres, I wanted to have something at least maybe to fight them with. They had no problems with their tyres, and neither did I really, so it was a stalemate.
The technical updates you put on the car, the benefits might not be seen so clearly here, but they will in other circuits. Have you been quite happy with how the car's performed?
Well, of course, we've been very happy with how the car's performed all year. This track didn't seem to suit us as well as maybe a Barcelona or a Shanghai or Malaysia, but all in all, we're still very solidly second in the constructors. The guys have done an incredible job. Renault with the engine as well, and we keep fighting.
So Mark Webber picks up points, but Jenson Button picks up the win. What a fantastic day for him.
Jenson, 2009 Monaco Grand Prix winner. How does that sound?
Sounds wicked. I crossed the line and I said to the boys, yeah, Monaco, baby, and it's so true. This one means so much for all of the team. And I said before the race it doesn't. That might have been a little white lie. I didn't want to put any pressure on myself. But yeah, to win here is exceptional, and the team have worked fantastically. I know I keep saying it, but it's the truth. You know, I cannot say how much they've helped me over the last few months, and well done to them all.
At which point when you were driving around did you start to think, I'm going to win this? Was it the start? Was it 2 laps from the end?
Having a 16-second leader before the first pit stop meant a lot, and I knew that I'd looked after the tyres more than Rubens had, the softer tyre. And then the team said prime tyres, and I wasn't quite sure, but obviously they had all the information from everyone else and put the primes on. Car was working well. Rubens was catching me a bit, but it was all, I don't want to sound like I had it under control, but I think I did. And then I pushed at the end of the stint, pulled out another sort of 2 to 3 seconds, knowing that he was stopping a couple laps later. And from then on, really, you have an inkling that there's a possibility of a win, but you don't get carried away because Monaco is Monaco, and it's so different to anywhere else. As you drive around, the barriers just seem to go like that in front of your eyes, like blinkers, and it made it quite difficult. And even when you're out in the lead with a big gap, you've got to concentrate like you would not believe. And the last 2 laps, I did slow down. I took it all in, and a very enjoyable 2 laps. I had the biggest smile on my face. My jaw was hurting, but a great end to the weekend, and you know, and then I parked in the wrong place.
I was going to say 78 laps is normally enough, but you seemed quite keen to do another on foot.
I'm not very good at parking. It's not, yeah, and so I ran to the start line, which 400 meters with your helmet on after a race in Monaco. Normally you'd think crazy, but when the adrenaline's pumping, you'll do anything. So it was great. It was a really emotional moment.
And you got an amazing reception from the crowd.
It was so nice, and in a way, you know, I'm sure that everyone that wins Monaco is going to want to do the same, because it's different, and it's nice when you're running down and everyone's high-fiving you, and yeah, it was a special moment.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jenson.
He's a happy boy. Let's just confirm the results of the Monaco Grand Prix. And I suppose the other headline, apart from Jenson Button, Martin, Ferrari are back. We can see Kimi Räikkönen right there.
Yeah, that Ferrari's been good all weekend. Really good front end on it, and it worked out for them. The drivers got it home, so that's a relief, isn't it? Especially if they stick with their threat to leave Formula One.
And we can say, Fissy, there, you're happy for Force India today, Eddie?
Yeah, I am very happy for Force India. I thought they moved a step forward, and because the grid is so close, this means a lot to them.
And I suppose you'd be saying, if you were Toyota, if you're BMW, go away, think hard, work hard, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Well, that's a great challenge of Formula One. You can't just chuck in the towel because you haven't managed to get it right first time. They've got all the tools at their disposal, and it'll be back to the drawing board.
OK, let's just confirm the Drivers' Championship now. You can see there, Jenson Button, 51 points. That's now 16 ahead of Rubens Barrichello. Sebastian Vettel is sitting third. And in the Constructors' Championship, it really is all Brawn. They've now got more than double of Red Bull. Toyota are third there, with Ferrari picking up a good load of points today. They now move above McLaren into fourth. We've had an email here. OK, guys, where are your shoes? Well, Terry and Trevor, we're allowed on the boat, but our shoes aren't, unfortunately. Right, it has to be a curtailed red button today because of the end of the football season, but we'll see you in a couple of weeks in Turkey. Gentlemen, thanks a lot. Thanks for watching.